Hi, my name is Joanne Perry. I am a member of the Sanditon fandom and the More Sanditon movement. Today, we have the immense pleasure of interviewing one of the masterminds behind the fantastic music we hear in Sanditon, Jon Wygens, one of the composers for Sanditon Series 2 and 3. Jon is an award-winning composer and multi-instrumentalist who has a long list of credits in television and film, including Victoria and the Durrells, where he worked with Ruth Barrett, who we all know was the composer for the Sanditon Season 1 soundtrack, as well as the Romanian vampire movie Miss Christina, for which he won a GOPO award for Best Score in 2014. Jon has also scored many documentaries, including the BBC's internationally popular Great British Railway Journey series. Jon studied at the National Film and Television School, graduating with a master's degree in composing for film and television, and lives between London and Madrid.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Hi, Jon.
Hi, hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. On behalf of myself and the Sanditon fandom, I really appreciate what you are doing for us today. Thank you so
You're
very
welcome.
much for joining me.
You're more than welcome.
Thank you. I just have, I guess we're going to start at the beginning. And if you could tell me a little bit about how you decided to become a composer.
Oh, that begin that far back. So, okay. I kind of fell into it in a way. I when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, I was playing in bands and playing the guitar. I'm originally a guitar player. I played guitar and piano first. Started on the guitar, and in my twenties, I was a kind of session musician. I was playing guitar in sort of indie bands and touring, and nothing that became nothing huge, but I was did a few tours to the States and things like this. And then that was, it's not the easiest of lives. And at a certain point, I was looking at, other ways I could work as a musician, and I kind of fell into it because somebody asked me to write a short film, music for a short film they were doing, which I did, not really knowing what I was doing, and but it seemed to come out well, and they liked it. And then not that long later, they graduated, they got their first job, little jobs, and they asked me to do things. And so I kind of just little by little sort of learned on the job. I never went to music school as such. I mean, I did study jazz guitar briefly, but I never studied composition. So everything I did was kind of learning as I went along. And also involved not only sort of doing the jobs, but I spent a lot of time studying and getting scores from I discovered that in my local library, I was living in Bristol then, and there was a fantastic section of music scores. I used to take out music scores and study them, and I had a background in music because my dad was a huge music fan. So I grew up hearing a lot of classical music and jazz. So I had a lot of music in my head, but I hadn't really studied it formally, So in sort of my late twenties, I started studying a lot of piano, started studying a lot of scores, taking private lessons, and found that I was getting jobs. Just I do a job, and people ask me to do things, and as always, sometimes more, sometimes less, But kind of that's my way in to becoming a composer. It wasn't really a decision; it's just something I sort of
It just kind of
found my
happened organically.
found myself doing it. Yeah. So yeah. So
That's
that's my
that's
origin.
that's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. And I noticed on your bio that you've done some period pieces in the past. I absolutely loved Victoria.
Mm,
I was very excited to find out that you did music on Victoria and the Durrells.
mm.
So how did you happen into those two? Were you like drawn to the period dramas, or was that just another one that you just kind of fell into?
Well, kind of, yeah. I mean, both those series I worked on with Ruth Barrett, who obviously you will know.
It was amazing.
Who is amazing. And yeah, I mean, so the Durrells was the first time we worked together. I'd met Ruth briefly a few years before, and but didn't really know her so well. But I was just by chance chatting to her agent about things, and they mentioned Ruth. They said, "You know Ruth Barrett?" And they said, "Well, actually, I've met her once or twice." And they said, "Well, she's starting this series of Daryl. She's very busy on the job. She's also got some personal things going on in her life, and maybe she needs a bit of. She probably could do a bit of help. And also, the Daryls are set in Greece, and a lot of guitar-ish instruments might be at play there. And because I play guitar and mandolin and all kinds of different instruments like that, so they said, well, maybe she might need a bit of help. So we chatted, and I came on board for that series, and very quickly we just clicked. We clicked really well. I mean, she's a brilliant musician, but she's a lovely, brilliant person too, and we definitely clicked. And at first I was playing guitar and the first episode or two, and contributing a few ideas or taking some of her ideas and developing them, and then I started writing more, and it really became a kind of co-write very quickly. And as the series developed, we kept that, and it was 4 series that we did in the end, so seasons, you should say that. So yeah, and then Victoria came right off the back of that. Well, while I was, we were still doing Daryl's, and that also happened again. Ruth got that job and asked me if I'd contribute music. So she was, I have to say on Victoria, she was the boss. She was the main composer, by certainly. But I was writing additional music, so I was writing certain themes and certain, so in series 2 and 3. And yeah, so that was really, really, again, I kind of fell into it because she asked me, but it was great, and I really just I love the
That's a
Laurels, and I
that's
love
amazing.
Victoria.
Did you just compose, or did you compose and did you, because I know you're an instrumentalist also,
Mm.
so did you play on any of your compositions that you did for either one of them?
On the Darrells, yes. I mean, the Darrells, I was playing so much. I was playing so many instruments. I mean, everything that had strings, apart from violin. I can't play violin or cello, but anything guitar-esque, um, which is very characteristic of that, that world which we drew on. So I was playing a lot. So I was playing on things. Ruth would write an idea, I'd play on it, or I'd write an idea, I'd play on it. So I was, often, which I really enjoy, because I don't get the chance to play the guitar as much as I'd like,
That's
But
that's amazing.
yeah, so that was great fun, and I bought loads of guitars. It's a great excuse to go to guitar shop. I
Yeah,
love.
I can see a little bit of a
There's a
collection
few. There's a
behind
few.
you.
You can't see all of them, and then there's a lot more than that around. So, and on Victoria, I didn't. I think it's a different kind of sound world, and it's very orchestral. So I don't think I played any guitar on Victoria. That was more orchestral scoring. So that's a different
So they
sound.
when she got to Sanditon, did you did you get a phone call from Ruth, or did you have to audition for Sanditon? Like, did you have to play a little bit for them and let you know kind of what let them know kind of what direction you were going in, or did Ruth give you you know a call and say, "Hey, listen, I have this project that I think you'd be perfect for"?
Kind of both in a way, because what happened with Sanditon is season 1, Ruth composed. She did ask me to get to be involved, but and I did start, but I didn't. My dad was ill. My dad got very ill, and
Oh, I'm very sorry.
that's thank you. And so I did start, and I was writing some little ideas, and mostly developing. Ruth would give me an idea to play on this, and because again, Sanditon has more guitar in the soundtrack. So I was playing on stuff and developing some ideas for her, and then my dad was ill. I couldn't do both things. It was impossible. So I did actually kind of drop out of that for those reasons. And then so that was more just a call to ask. And then when season 2, well, 2 and 3 were commissioned, um, thanks to you fans, actually. Yeah, so it wasn't going to be, but yeah, the enthusiasm of all you guys
A lot
brought
of
it back.
us worked our fingers to the bone for
I
that.
know, it's incredible. Yeah, yeah, when Ruth told me, before 2 and 3 were commissioned, that this was happening, I was amazed. It was fantastic. I mean, really great. Um, so when that happened, again, Ruth was very, very busy on other projects and didn't think she'd be able to do it. So she proposed to the producers, that I come on board and kind of take over, but she didn't want to step back entirely, and nor did they, obviously. I mean, understandably, because she's, the score for season 1 is fantastic what she did. So we had discussions, and I had to play them a lot of my music, which they liked, and so yeah, so I came on board to kind of take the reins, but with Ruth still, still involved. So
Right.
at the very beginning, she was much more involved, and the idea was she would step back, which is what happened, but kind of maintain an overview and kind of more like a producer role, and so there was a little bit more of a process of being accepted when it came to season two because I was taking on a lot more responsibility. And at the beginning, it's not an easy thing to do to take over, and step into somebody's shoes in a way. Especially such, when the first series was so great. And it did take a little while. There was a bit of a discussion in the production whether the score should change, whether because Sanditon has changed. The whole world the world of Sanditon has become much more successful, and it's become much more. It's a
Yes.
changed place, and the characters have changed. So should the music change? Should it become more bigger, more orchestral, perhaps a little bit more traditional? And so I tried out quite a lot of different ideas. They didn't all work at the beginning, though. I think everything I wrote eventually came into the score. So it took a little while to kind of settle down. But Ruth was very involved in the episode one. With some new ideas and steering what I was doing. But eventually, we kind of got to a place where
I,
where we
I
were
have
happy.
to I have to say, as a fan, and this is, I have a little question in here for you too, but to me it feels like the music is a character within itself. I
Mm,
mean, you take, as a fan, you take us on such a ride that it is absolutely, it's amazing, the range of emotions that just hearing a certain sound,
mm,
even now rewatching it, like you just, you know what's coming, but the second you hear that score, it you get emotional
mm.
because the music just feels like a character within itself. So you definitely did something right. And when you were writing it, did the music feel that way to you? Like you knew that it was going to evoke that kind of emotion from the fans who were listening to it?
I'm really glad you say that. That's brilliant to hear, and that's what we hope to do. And we very much wanted the score to be characterful and not to be generic in any way. And I think this is something that I think that Ruth established with season one. She's it's such a characterful score, and it's unusual. It doesn't just do the obvious. There are certain ways you could do things. It would be more generic, perhaps, but this is very much not. So the challenge was to continue in that vein, and also when we're writing, and I say we because it's not just me in this series. Uh, we really tried to get inside the story. Really tried to get. I mean, we had so many discussions about, particularly with Charlotte. What's really going on for her and how her whole story. How it's we know how it's going to develop. So we're trying to tell that story and seed ideas and really get inside the character, not just be generic, not to be generic ever, not to be just a really and all so many interesting characters that go on so many interesting, fun, emotional journeys that we really wanted the music to really reflect that, and as you say, be a strong character in itself and have a real identity.
It is,
um
as a fan, mission accomplished. It definitely did that. Speaking of the music and the accomplishment that you have had, can you give us a hint as to when the soundtrack will be coming out for the series? I mean, is there any indication that a soundtrack is going to be
There
released?
is, there is. There's been a long journey for this to happen. It is. It's coming out. I think on the. I'm going to look at on the 13th. I believe it was going to be yesterday because they're trying. They want to time it with the terrestrial broadcast. It's already been streamed, and it's been in America. It's already been
It's been
Season
viewed in
three, season
America.
three.
Yes.
Yeah. So in the UK, it's been on sort of streaming, but it's now being on sort of normal, terrestrial television. They wanted to the time it with that, and I believe it was going to be yesterday, but then I had an email, and I'm looking on my calendar, and yeah, next Sunday is the 30th. I believe I'm not promising, but I believe
Okay.
that it's going to become
Fingers.
available next Sunday. So, and there will be information put out there to let everybody know. It's been a long, yeah, it took a long time to put everything together, because it's not just a question of just picking your favorite cues. It's like taking themes and joining them with others and adapting those and remixing and tweaking things here and there to make it work as a soundtrack. Is a different experience.
Well,
So.
I can almost guarantee that that is going to be a bestseller once it hits. We are definitely going to be jumping all over that.
Well, I hope everybody enjoys it and nobody's disappointed. But I think it sounds great. Yeah, yeah, I'm very very pleased with it, and yeah, it's great. And I should also say, at this point, when I say we, I mean myself and Ruth, but also there was another composer, David Schweitzer, another brilliant composer and lovely man, who also was composing on the series. So it was a three-way collaboration, which happened because I became involved, but we asked David to become involved also because the schedule for producing the music was so crazy.
Because
Because
it was filmed back to back,
it was
correct?
filmed back to back, so they were filming two seasons back to back. They had different simultaneous sets set up. So the poor actors, I don't know how they did it, because they were careering from one set to the other, editing episodes pretty simultaneously. So episode one and two would be happening. So we realized that it was really really going to be almost impossible for one. I mean, even though Ruth was involved, her involvement was she was producing some ideas and themes as well, but
Mhm.
also overseeing. But it was like the actual producing, putting the score out. So we brought David in. David also had worked on Victoria, and so we have long-standing relationship. So that was I mean, that was kind of slightly complicated at the beginning, but it really settled down, and he's so great, and has a slightly different style to me perhaps, and so that was a really great thing, because the original idea was that I would maybe do an episode, and then he would take over the next episode while I started on the next one, and this kind of leapfrog. But what we found is that he was writing certain themes that were working so well, and I was working on certain themes and certain characters and certain situations, and that it's almost better that so we would be working on the same episodes, where he would more concentrate on certain aspects, and I would on others, and then sometimes they would kind of cross, and we would collaborate. So, but yeah, I didn't want to not mention that we had the wonderful David Schweitzer also involved in the
Well,
team.
thank you for doing that. Thank you, David.
Yeah, thank you, David.
Another question that we had is when you came on board for series two, did you know, like, did they give you a storyboard? Did you know what was going to happen? Like, were you were able to immerse yourself into that so that you could get started on what you needed to do
Yeah,
as
I had scripts. So I had scripts, not the whole. For season two, when I started on season two, we had scripts for, I think, maybe the first three episodes were done, and I think I had maybe story outlines for the later, because it was they were still writing, right up to the last minute.
they were still
Um,
writing?
there
Wow,
was,
that's
yeah, I mean
amazing.
that's quite common. I think they had a broad picture, but a lot of details were still coming into place. So yeah, and also I my first job before scoring was, I was also kind of the summer before, I was also taking care myself of all the what's called pre-record, so all the ballroom sequences, and anytime there's music that's not score, it's more, you're seeing a band playing, they're dancing, those kinds of things. Even if a character's playing the church organ, I would have to. So I was involved in all of that. So I had to kind of know a little bit about what was going on. But yeah, so mostly it was scripts, and then I don't remember. I don't remember when I first got some picture. Quite late. I think it's only really yeah. It was, I think I got the first episode, probably not even a finished edit, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks before I had to do the actual score. He was, so I had some idea, I had some
Oh my
ideas,
goodness.
and I'd listened and watched season one and tried to immerse myself as much as possible. But it was definitely quite deep end, falling, jumping in the deep end stuff. So,
Oh
which
my
is,
goodness.
I mean, it's, that's the nature of the job. I think that's kind of almost always the case, So yeah, even I mean, have it even a few weeks before having to deliver the music. Sometimes it's just you see it and you have like 10 days, So yeah, because the turnaround on some of the episodes I was saying was so tight. I mean, I think we had maybe recording 40 minutes of music, recording, mixing, thinking the ideas, producing it, and maybe in 10 days, something like this. It's kind of crazy, crazy schedules. So
Do you have a favorite piece that you composed for the series? I know that that's not fair. It's kind of like picking your favorite child, but is there a particular piece of music that you feel an attachment to more than the rest of it? Or
it's hard to say. I mean, of the things that I would consider the sort of more themes that I wrote, I suppose maybe some things that were more, more David came from David or Ruth. I guess maybe there's a theme that runs through it that's to do with Alison, and it first comes in. It's called Carriage Crash. That's what it was originally called, but I think on the album it's called something. It's called something else. I'm trying to remember now. It's the theme that comes in at the end of episode one when they're riding the carriage. Um, and it's a tune that then comes back and it becomes very much Alison's theme. And it's the theme that when they dance and that they first, they fall in love.
when her and
You
Frasier
hear it
first
there
met?
in another form, and then
Yes.
when they get married in the whole marriage sequence, and then you have a very emotional version. And I'm very proud of that theme because it runs through the whole of series two, and,
Right.
and it tells their story, and you first hear it and they're having fun, they're in a carriage, and it's like this, and then it becomes a love theme, and it's kind of it, and it also finishes. It's also the theme that is in the final bit of music on series three. In the very last episode, it's the it's the
Mm-hmm.
last thing we hear. So
Mm-hmm.
we don't have the normal credit music. We have that theme leads us out. So for me, I'm it's very nice when you write a theme. It's a very simple tune, but when you write a theme that can have that journey that goes throughout. Yeah. So that particular, yeah, that one. Yeah.
That's amazing. And it's a beautiful, absolutely beautiful piece of music.
Thank you.
And it it does, like I said previously, when you hear that music, that something amazing is about to happen when you hear it. So, like a character within itself, that
Oh,
you just know you can follow it. I'm so excited for the UK to finally be able to see it, and they will know exactly what we're talking about um, in the series three, uh, with the emotion that the music evokes. I'm sure that they
great.
will
Well, I
know
hope
that
so.
also. Um, I um, I would just like to know how long it took for you from start to finish to compose and score series two and three. Like how long did it take? Normally I would have asked one season, but you did them back to back, so
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
were definitely crunched, I'm sure.
It was, oh gosh, it was such a kind of crazy. I mean, I think we started in like kind of November a couple of years ago, and oof, it's really hard to say. I think but yeah, I think kind of it was like 2 or 3 months season two. I should have looked up there. I should have looked in my diaries and go back over what I did. I don't remember. It seemed like, I was working like completely crazy nonstop. It was like I think we had like a month and we managed to do 2 episodes before Christmas, and then we had another maybe 6 weeks after Christmas to finish the rest. Then we had a little pause and then of a couple of weeks, and then we got straight back into season three, which was a little longer and was a little different because David was less available, and so I did season three. I was sort of more. I did more of. I took over really much more on that season. So So, but we had also had a little more time, which made that possible. Because David was scoring a feature film and Ruth was also working on another big job. So that was season three was more myself taking care, sort of taking charge of that, and was a little longer. That was maybe 3 months from beginning to the very end. But
Wow. So you
it may
composed,
have been less. I can't remember.
oh
So
my God.
yeah,
So
yeah.
all of that amazing music you put together in approximately 5 months.
Yeah. That sounds about right. But yeah, I'd have to check my go back over my.
Wow.
I always have a book where I'm working, so I can take notes and I sort of put dates and stuff. So I have these books. I always keep them. I've got like a box full of stuff, so I can sometimes look back and think, "Gosh, I did it in that much time." But it's the nature of the job. When you're working on particularly on well film and television, particularly television series like this, there's never the time is always very short,
Right.
which has good and bad. Has a mostly it's quite stressful, but also it has a good side because it really focuses you. It focuses everybody because you don't have you become very single-minded, very focused, and I think you used the word immersed. I mean, I immersed myself. There was, I could hardly think about anything else. So I go home at the end of a very long day, and the music would just be in my head. And so you become very sort of at one with the characters and the story. It kind of takes over your life, but it's right because it's so concentrated. It's quite intense, but it brings things out you won't expect. Sometimes, as if we all know, sometimes a little pressure is good. And also, we had a really fantastic support of the musicians, particularly the musicians that were working with us. Were phenomenal. I won't start naming anybody in particular, but they were all great, and just because it's not a sometimes like maybe with Victoria, it's more like an orchestral score, so we go to an orchestra and they perform the score. But Sanditon is we kind of deliberately didn't want to do that sound. We wanted a more individualistic sound, so we have sort of violin and cello, and sometimes we have slightly larger groups, but it's a lot of individual musicians that we're working with, sort of percussionists. I play some guitar. There's also another guitar player who was playing an instrument called the cittern, which is a kind of early guitar from that era. And they were all fantastic. And often we were recording remotely, so which is very common now, where I would send music to the violin player we used, who's brilliant, Phil, and she would record it and send it back, and at the same time the percussionist would be sent and collating all this stuff. So it's quite a, but it was that was they were really great. They were so helpful because sometimes I was we were calling them say, can you do some playing tonight? I need it tomorrow, and they'd all drop everything and do it and do this play amazingly, and yeah, and I had a great assistant called Fernando, who was working with me, who saved my life by helping me with all the technical sides of things and making sure everything was being delivered at the right time, and just generally helping me stay
Oh,
alive while I was composing. So yeah,
that's
a great team as well as Ruth and David. It's a great team of musicians and support, which is
that's
made it possible.
amazing. Did you get to play any of the music for Sanditon that while when you were composing? Did you
Sure, yeah, because there's quite a lot of guitar. I mean, I played there's guitar in there, and there's a little bit of mandolin here and there, and yeah, this instrument, the cittern, which is I don't have it here. It's somewhere between a guitar and a mandolin, and it's quite an unusual instrument. But I did get one, and I was playing that. But actually, we had a cittern player who's based up in Glasgow, I think, who Ruth used a lot on season one, and he's much better than me. So actually, he did
would
quite a
you
lot of
like
it.
to
So.
share a little bit of that with us of a little bit of something that you played on performed on the soundtrack?
Oh, I've got some tracks here, but I have to remember which is the ones that I've got. Um, let's have a look. Don't know if this will open. Hmm, slowly, just being a bit slow. Well, I can play this, but I can't remember where the guitar parts come in. So, Oh, there you go at the beginning. Can you hear that?
I cannot.
Oh, you should be able to. Oh, you can't hear that.
No, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
that's a shame. That's a shame. Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure why that is. I could try and find out. Oh, sorry. Sometimes with the Zoom, it's a bit strange
How the audio goes.
how the audio routes. Yeah, it's kind of fine for talking, and then you try and play some music, and it comes out of a different channel. Give me 1 second. I might be able to fix it. If I don't, maybe I can. Maybe I can. Let me have a look. Let me have a look. Okay. If I do this, if it doesn't work, then I'll have to tell you that you have to listen to it when it comes out next Sunday. Okay. Let's see if this. Can you hear it now? No? How strange. I don't know why. I think I can make it work. It's another button. Okay. This may or may not work. If it doesn't work, we'll try something else. We'll give up.
I have it.
You sound okay?
Yes.
So this is Sitter.
Okay.
I don't remember it's myself. I think it's like a combination of myself and maybe the musician. But anyway.
Then the army is coming in. Now, see, I hear that, and I can see Lennox
riding
riding a
all sort of
strut.
finery.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, with all the fluff on his
Yeah.
hat and everything, and our wonderful Frasier coming in also. It's amazing. I can vision just hearing a couple of notes. I can see what's happening in my mind, which is just amazing.
I remember,
Um,
I remember, I remember when I composed that. I remember wanting to try to figure out something that would work with them, these soldiers. And actually, we kind of thought. I remember talking to Ruth and saying they're like cowboys, It's like and then the guitar thing is, it doesn't sound like kind of Morricone spaghetti western, but a bit like this kind of the guitar gives it this sort of yeah, sort of it makes them feel like
it
these
drives it, yes, and
cowboys,
you
and it
can just
drives them, and
right.
it's a little bit rough because they're kind of rough, even though they've got all their finery on their. So
Yes,
that was really good fun to come up with that, and that ran out
yes.
through is that season two is their kind of
It was amazing. Is absolutely amazing. Um, Given the popularity of Sanditon, I'm gonna put you on the spot here. What do you think it is that made it unique to other period dramas? Um, there's been a lot of period dramas in the past, but none that people fought for as passionately as they did with Sanditon. So
Why is that? Oof, it's always it's hard to say. It's a combination. I mean, it's a great it's the script is great. The storytelling is so well done. It's so lively and witty and vivacious and but I think the performances. I think Rose, who plays Charlotte, is really carries the show. I think she's so engaging as an actress, and she just absolutely personifies her role, as do the whole cast. And I have to say, I think the music does, and I will say that not to praise myself, but to really praise Ruth, what she established in season one. I think it gave it such a new, such a distinctive character, and I'm very proud of the music that I did with Ruth and David of season 2 and 3, but I think it's because of that character that she established in season 1 that we carried on that spirit and that sound world, with the guitars and with the this folkish, folky quality, this rough edge to the music. Because I think often, as much as I love period drama, as we all do, and I love a lot of the music, but there's a certain kind of sound, and it's a more orchestral. It's a broader sound. And I think this, which Ruth established, is, she always says that's much more rock and roll. It's more,
Mhm,
they're not kind
mhm.
of characters from books sort of swanning around. They're gritty, and I think that's in the storytelling, it's in the performances, and I think the music really brings that out. And I think she established that fantastically. And I think having that quality, those sort of sounds, that kind of quality to the music is something that is really down to Ruth. And I think that really added such a lot. And as I say, that's what I tried to carry on into the next seasons, the couple of subsequent seasons. So it's all those elements. It's all those elements. Yeah.
Yes, yes, I agree. I agree 100%. Um, as you know, there are a lot of fans out there who do not want Sanditon to end, um, myself among them. If we were successful in getting more Sanditon out there, would you be on board as to continue on the journey with us?
Of course, if they will have me. So yes, yes. If there was more Sanderson, which would be wonderful, I would absolutely love to be working on the music. And yeah, maybe I don't know if you're going to ask me, but I've got no inside information. I've got no knowledge. I don't know whether
Oh,
Sanderson
I
could or would.
definitely was not going. I was I was
Never ask
definitely not going to ask
never
that.
ask the composers this kind of thing. We never know anything. We come in later. They never tell us anything to the last minute. Um, I've got no idea whether it would. If it did, I would love to. I'd love to carry on that journey and be part of that. So if it's happening, anybody out there, and you're thinking about that thing, then
Well, we're crossing our fingers. We're going to do the best that we can. I do not know whether or not we will be successful, but we're definitely striving for that at the moment.
yeah, that's really
So,
important.
is there anything else that you'd like to discuss before I take up any more of your time today?
Not really. I mean, I think just to say how much, firstly, how much I appreciate what all the guys out there have been done to make this series come back, and perhaps again in the future, and the support and the encouragement that we've all received from you all, myself and everybody involved in the production. It's so great to get this feedback from you guys, because sometimes we work on things in our rooms here and we do stuff, and then you don't know, you sort of don't know if it's connecting with people. When you realize it does really connect with people's hearts, it's the best. That's kind of why we do these things, to really, to be part of something that connects with people. And also I should, really say a big thank you to Ruth and David and everybody, and the producers and the directors and everybody who's involved in Sanditon, because they were so wonderful to work with. It's such an enjoyable experience, and
And as a fan,
also
I
proud of what we managed to produce. So yeah,
we love it, and we obviously can't get enough of it. Um, so it is very much appreciated what everybody does, everybody in front of the screen, behind the screen, everybody behind the scenes, cast, crew, directors, everybody. We appreciate 100% what every single one of you have done for the series. It's amazing, and we all love it, and we all love all of you who have been involved in this. And I want to thank you very much for your time today. It was very lovely speaking with you. And with your permission, I will be sharing this on social media accounts, as long as that's okay with you.
it's absolutely yes.
Absolutely fine. Great. Thank you so much again. And you have a lovely evening with your family.
Thank you very much, and you too. Okay,
Thank
lovely.
you.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye.